Wemtala vimo, 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 wayemazulwini vimo, 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 wasiyaphi vimo, 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 isizwe siyaphela vimo, vimo, vimo.
When you first heard someone say to you, it's cancer, how did you feel? Sen.
Stephanie, when I first heard that prognosis, the word cancer just paralyzed me, just with fear.
When I heard those words, you have cancer, I thought, oh my God, no, not me. It was very, very scary. I felt like I was just on the edge and I didn't know what was going to happen on the other side.
I can't remember how I felt when I first got diagnosed, but I remember she said cancer and I kind of shrunk within myself. I couldn't think, I couldn't move. All I felt was numb. And I remember she said something after that, but it didn't matter anymore. All I knew was that I had cancer.
At the moment when I got my diagnosis, I kept thinking, this is that moment. This is what it feels like on the other side.
Yeah, for me, I had to wait a couple months before I could even get treatment going. I had stage 4 cancer and they said I had 25% chance of survival. And it was a very long ride home. And that night, my wife and I were laying in bed like a couple of zombies, just looking at the wall. And then it hit me that, no, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? And yeah, I had that attitude adjustment. And I just flipped it, just like a switch. So I don't have to go to the negative side. It's kind of like Darth Vader, you know, Luke, come to the dark side. I'm going, no way, I'm not going there. And I changed my attitude and I adjusted it. And I told my wife, I said, Jan, I said, those numbers that they gave us at Stanford, they don't exist. And I changed my attitude right then and there and I went forward.
Wow.
I had a shift in my mind, just that thank God they found it. I had some issues with my jaw, but no idea that I'd have that size of a tumor. So it just immediately switched. And I said to myself, so it was hunting you, now you're the hunter.
I really like that word, hunter. Isn't that great?
Power.
Yeah.
When you're having, you know, chemo or radiation each day, you know, there's so much waiting time in that process. And you're slowly watching it, you know, drip in your body. You really need to try and stay positive as much as possible.
I think that's where you have to go, is to find the place that works for you.
We had a fun group on Thursday mornings, and I've been a clown for about 25 years, and so once I started to lose my hair, I had to keep my head warm with something, so I had all these funny hats. Well, people kind of saw that and they said, well, I got a funny hat at home. And pretty soon everybody would come in with all these funny little hats on and we all sit there for however long.
That was what surprised me when I lost my hair, is how cold you get. Obviously all your heat is going out through your head. Yeah. And so somebody I work with had crocheted me all these little hats. And I was thinking, it's the summer, I'm never going to wear them. But it's like, wow, I wore those hats, you know, in bed at night. It was great. Because you don't realize how cold you're going to get, you know?
I love the questions when I started wearing a wig that would come to me while I was sitting at chemo or anywhere else, and the people really want to know where I got my haircut. Oh, and it was, I love that haircut. Where do you go? You know, like, well, what should I say? Yeah. It's very expensive. Yeah, lots of chemicals.
Actually, one of the first couple words out of my mouth after I could speak, after I had learned I had cancer, was, can I have a blue wig? So, yeah, I got a long electric blue wig, and whenever I was feeling sad or whatever, I'd put on the blue wig and I'd go out in public and everything would be better, so.
That's great, just go with it.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Exactly.
I think it's important to remember you can have fun, even if you have cancer. And it may be a little bit more work some days than others. But for me, it put me in touch with my life force, and I felt like I was still me, even though I looked different and I felt different and I was going through this scary experience.
I felt like all I could think about was cancer. It's like, what did I talk to people about before this? I knew I had everyday conversations, But what did I actually talk about that didn't involve cancer? Because that was all encompassing in my world at that time.
I think the idea that other people aren't going through this, I'm alone.
For me, I wasn't really sure, if I could help my mom in any way. I didn't really know anybody who had cancer, and I didn't know anyone who really knew anything, and I don't know, it was kind of weird to feel isolated like that, I think.
I was surrounded by good friends who were also nurses. I think several of us are nurses, and so I had that support locally. All three of my sons live in and outside of the United States. So the computer was really our big source of information. It was about my first diagnosis, what does that mean, Mom? My second diagnosis, what does that mean? And then we were able to use the computer and educate ourselves.
I know the computer's a double-edged sword.
It can
One
be.
of my friends told me, whatever you do, do not Google breast cancer. Don't look it up, because you'll be terrified. You know, there's too much information, and it all seems to be bad news. And so I went to a support group thinking I'd find some answers, and I just found more people with the same questions as me, and I didn't want to deal with their questions. You know, my questions were my own kind of thing, and they were enough.
I remember one of my daughters said right away, you know, who's going to walk me down the aisle?
I had young children, and it was devastating for me to imagine that my children would grow up without a mother. And it was very hard to know how to talk about it with them.
I remember my son lives in Virginia, and at the time his son was 6 years old. So he sat down with the little 6-year-old grandson and says, Grandma just got some very unsettling news. She has a disease, and it's going to take very strong medicine to cure the disease. And little Max was just starting in the 1st grade, and he says, oh no, Dad, she doesn't have swine flu, does she? Which was kind of some comic relief for my son. You know?
I personally think that cancer is so devastating that a lot of people don't know how to handle it, because there's so many people who have died of cancer in our lives that as soon as you hear someone's got it, you don't know how to relate to them. And I've had friends of mine who literally, I mean, yeah, they couldn't communicate with me anymore. And that was very devastating, but I had to understand from their side how, you know, how hard it is. And you have to accept that and let it go.
You can't get involved in other people's arguments and other people's fights. You just have to deal with yourself. And now it's like, you know, that whole thing of don't sweat the small stuff. I don't get into that anymore.
After you've been to the diagnosis, it's all small stuff.
Yeah.
It's all small stuff.
Or just letting go, you know, it's like, it's in your hands. For me, there had to be a point of just going, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I use that one too.
It is what it is, and so now how are you going to move through it or deal with it?
I think it's really important to not only kind of, well, of course it's always important to think about the long term and what will this do to me, but I think it's also really important to not dwell on it or you'll think yourself crazy. And I think it's good to think about day to day, okay, today I have a blood draw and an MRI, and I'm gonna get through the blood draw, and then I'm gonna get through the MRI, and then I'm gonna go play guitar, or I'm gonna go play cards, or I'm gonna go read a book, or...
I think one of the things that people are always scared of with cancer is, am I gonna be in pain? Am I gonna be hurting, you know, that kind of thing. And what helped me was, before my chemo, the doctor would give me medication to stop the nausea. And so I'd take one of those just in case, and I'd take a pain pill just in case. And after the first or second treatment that I had, I knew that the first couple of days I'd be okay, and then the second couple of days I would be kind of achy and not feeling great. So if I took some pain pills beforehand, it really helped me to do it. But then my whole thing was, okay, by Monday, I'm gonna be feeling good again. So what can I do on Monday? And I kind of expected that I would be lying in bed moaning and groaning and in pain the whole time. And when I wasn't like that, it's like, okay, well, what can I do today, you know?
I think setting goals. When I'm healthy, I'm going to do certain things. For me, it was I take the family back to Hawaii. So when I was going through radiation, I would visualize being on the beach in Hawaii, especially if you're in pain. You know, once this pain goes away, what action am I going to take?
I think one of the hardest things about pain, when you're in the midst of it, you don't really believe it's ever going to go away. Because when you're really experiencing pain, it just affects everything, and it takes so much psychological and psychic energy to keep going. When it's so debilitating.
You can't get away from it.
You cannot get away from yourself. You know, you want to get out of your own skin, and you can't do it.
Because there's so many different kinds of pain, aren't there? And when combined with fear or
fear factor,
right, anxiety or sadness, you know, maybe some feelings that you didn't even know were there start to attach to the pain. So now it's grief and pain,
and depression,
or depression and pain. I didn't have a lot of pain myself, but I know it's different every time. I had thyroid cancer on both my nodules of my thyroid, and I remember when I was getting my radiation, and I had to be, I mean, literally so much information about you can't have this and you can't do that, and mostly you can't be around people. And so all the cats had to go out, right? My dear child had to be shipped out. I was going crazy in the house because it was beautiful weather out. So I'd go out by myself, but anytime anybody came near me, I'd have to dash inside because I'm afraid they'd come over and hug me or something. So I went for a walk, and I remember all these dogs coming up to me, and I'm like, no, I'm like the death lady, stay away, stay away. You know, like I had a stick and I'm like hitting the dogs. I mean, it was weird. It was like the opposite of what I thought. I thought, you know, I'll just pretend I'm invisible, nobody would come near me, but no, they're all like a magnet. I'm like, keep your children and your dogs away from me. What's the matter? I don't want to tell you.
Yeah.
Some of the toughest times were having somebody show up unannounced with dinner or something, and they wouldn't know what to say.
Your family and friends are going to want to do something for you, and they're going to offer, and what they really want to do is cure you, but there's no way they can cure you. So if you allow them to help you, they feel like they're part of the cure.
I think if you care about someone who has cancer, the best thing to do is to just believe in them and make them feel like they're going to make it, and give them as much love as you can.
I think it's really important to not let things break you. Don't let cancer or chemotherapy or anything take that away from you. Take something that you love to do and run with it. It doesn't matter how far you can run with it, as far as you want to or as far as you can. You know, believe in your own strength.
Well, we've been talking a lot about cancer today, so thank you so much for everybody being helpful and giving me such great advice and things.
Everybody in this room is a fighter. I want to thank you guys for sharing all your experience, strength, and hope with me.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
That was fun. Bye-bye.
Wemdala vino, 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 wasia.